Ooh,
Goodness, what did you just hit?
7 iron, man. What do we got?
7 iron.
Ooh, 20 miles an hour wind.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back at it again. Ryan is dropping bombs with a 7 iron with a little bit of help.
Yeah, a little bit of help. There's about 20 miles an hour wind in the back on that one.
That helps.
It also helps so close. Just kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Crank that thing up.
But this proves a very good point. What does wind do to your golf ball / swing shot, all that stuff?
It helps and it hurts.
Yeah, but the cause and effect of that are very drastic. So my normal 7 iron is about a 195-ish, give or take, on the carry. And I just carried that to 213 with a total of 226.
Yeah.
So my spin was a little lower because it got knocked down. All kinds of stuff happened when you hit a downwind. Now, the same token, if we flip that wind in my face, it ain't gonna go that far.
No, and so that's kind of the crazy thing, which we'll see right here, and we'll look at the numbers on it, that the wind at your back does not help the same amount that it hurts in your face.
Yeah,
So,
in fact, let's flip it real quick. I'll hit one more, and then I'll let you step in.
so
and
we're saying about, what do you say, about 190 what?
my average is 195.
So we'll call it 195. So that one carried 213. So we're calling that a little shy of 20 yards added to it. So if we put 20 miles an hour wind in your face,
Right.
is that going to knock 20 yards off of it?
I think it's not close to 30.
Okay, let's see.
But I also am a little smarter than the average debater. Now, I'm going to take a normal swing. Let's preface it by saying that is if I was normally in 20 miles an hour wind, all the stuff we're about to talk about, I would do.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to sit up here like nothing's ever happened in my life, and I'm just going to hit the golf ball.
Vertical.
I hit that fast. So maybe I'll hit one more. But yeah, it got vertical quick because that's not even going to go 150. Whew, yeah, let me hit one more. Deem myself a little bit here. There we go. So same swing I just executed. A little off to the right. My face was a little. I'm gonna hit up green. It's not the correct green.
140.
So close to the hole.
Yeah.
Just the wrong damn hole.
Yeah.
137. So I wasn't even right.
So
we just went from 20 miles an hour straight at my back to 213 to a exact same miles per hour straight in my face to 137.
Yeah.
That's almost a 100-yard difference. Not quite.
So here's another thing that's crazy. Whenever you're looking at into the wind, people say, the ball, it doesn't run out as far, and it does this, it does the other. So yes and no on that. Wind at your back, the ball rolls out a little bit more. Wind in your face, the ball doesn't roll out as much. We've got a number up there also that's pretty important. It's called land angle. So where Ryan hit just a minute ago, 20 miles an hour at his back with his 7 iron, and your land angle was 36 degrees.
Right.
So it came into the green at 36 degrees. We spin it around to 20 in your face.
Or for you guys.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just coming at you.
Now you got what? 71 degrees. So you're talking do my math for me, 40 degrees, is that right?
Above my knowledge.
Yeah, it's way too fast for me. But
just a home golf bro.
Big difference in land angle coming into the green like this or coming into the green like that.
And on the golf ball, there's this little thing called dimples. You know what they are? If you don't really understand what dimples are here for,
peace, we out of here.
And it reappeared. This is what causes spin. Now, there's dimple patterns. There's a bunch of different stuff that go into this. Obviously, they're trying to make these as straight as possible. They've got USG regulations, all that kind of stuff. But what you were just talking about is if that ball's going into the wind, and I'm going to trade spots with you when you swing because 2 swings is more than enough with my driving back. So if you're hitting into the wind, and you just take a normal swing. So as Aaron hits that, yeah, you said it was a little toey. Ooh, get over the water. You ain't gonna get over the water. Stay on that one. So what ends up happening, and I'm gonna get a lot closer to the camera for this part, but you got the golf ball and the wind's coming from over here, and that golf ball is obviously gonna rotate backwards, right?
Yep, excellent.
So as that ball is rotating backwards, air is having to come over the golf ball. And when you get more wind into it, that is actually pushing that golf ball to spin more.
Causes more lift.
And causes, right, think of it as an airfoil on an airplane or a wing if you don't know what that means. And it causes that ball to go up, which causes your downplane or your angle of approach
To be steeper.
or 73.6 degrees in Aaron's case.
And the ball does not continue to roll.
Right.
And then, like we say, we spin it around at your back.
And I'm gonna talk, well, he does that. So again, we're still backspinning. That doesn't change because when you hit it off the club, but now that wind's coming back here, well, it's deadening that spin. And by deadening that spin, it's causing it to stay a little lower, a little flatter, and you're not gonna have as much backspin. So it hits, it's gonna wanna run out a little bit more like Aaron's is doing on the screen right now. And that's kind of the effect of the golf ball, which we never really talked about that all that much. And I think it's kind of cool to dive into that. Here's one for you.
38 degrees
Yeah.
land angle.
And you went from, what was your carry in the last one?
130 something.
So 182. So less of a drastic difference. I will say I'm a little steeper. I hit the ball a little higher than Aaron. So it affects me a little bit more than it does you necessarily. And that's the crazy thing about wind is it is very dependent on what you do. If you're steep and hit the ball high, you're going to be greatly affected by it. If you hit the ball low with not as much spin, it's not going to affect you as much. So it'll affect it, but not as much.
Yeah.
So let's talk about downwind.
Okay.
If you were trying to get max distance, you just hit normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we're talking about controlling distance, what would you do in that scenario? So say you're 200 yards out. Let's talk in hypothetical since you got a 7-iron in your hand. What would you do? Would you just simply club down and keep it easy? Or what's your thought process?
Yeah, so, I mean, downwind, I may choke down just a little bit. I really don't want it to get way up in there to where it's like totally affected by it. But I'm gonna try to get the ball to possibly, maybe launch just a little bit higher so I can get that little bit more of a down angle. I'm not gonna set up like a driver and rear back and throw things at it. But to help counteract that land angle, maybe you do take less of a club that has more loft to it to try to help with that steeper land angle or something like that on it.
So when you talk about that swing, would you classify it, what you're talking about, kind of like a knockdown shot, if you may, or is it a little less than that?
Maybe, I don't really knock it down.
Okay.
Maybe choke down just a little bit.
Okay, so it's normal swing,
Yeah.
but a little less length to try and deaden that spin a little bit.
Yeah.
And then maybe take one less club, and that just depends on what you're trying to do from a distance perspective.
Like 200 downwind like this, I probably would hit a 7-iron.
So let me throw a scenario out there for you, just because I think, so many people when they talk about hitting into the wind, it's so much about distance. Well, let's say you're sitting on a dogleg right, a severe dogleg right, and you hit the drive of your life, and you're sitting 185 yards out, but you still have to turn around that corner, okay? And it's, let's say, open, but there's one tree, and you got to turn it around that tree. I don't care which way you're going, left or right, but you're downwind 20 miles an hour. What shot are you going to play there? And why? Because as much as people talk about the vertical adjustments, it affects all spin, not just some of it. So it'll deaden some of those things a little bit.
Yeah, it's not gonna, it's
Again,
not gonna
assuming
move.
it's directly back.
Yeah, it's not gonna move as much.
Right.
I would take more of a severe move at it, I guess.
Right.
Trying to possibly, say I'm gonna work it to the left, where I would.
So you need to work at 15 yards, you're going to try and do it 30.
Yeah.
Just double.
Try to work it a little bit more.
Right.
I'm gonna aim my feet a little more right, possibly close my club face a little bit more to really get it snapping.
So, and take the numbers and the stuff we're saying with a grain of salt. We're talking about an indoor facility that we can control the hypothetical wind. So obviously understand that when you're on a golf course playing in whatever conditions you're playing in, there's a lot of things that come into factor other than wind, like is it cold, is it hot, is it,
you have to
is it raining, is it not raining, right? So just these are general directions. So you need to take it with a grain of salt, talk to your golf professional. If you don't have a golf professional, feel free to reach out to us. I may have a subscription service where it doesn't matter where you live in the world now, you can actually get a hold of me and we can do a lesson.
There you go.
You should have it.
Way too technical.
But talk to them and understand how it works best for your game, because this isn't going to work for every person's game. This is my and Aaron's take on this, and that is it. So well, let's flip that wind back around now. So now it's back into your face. How would you hit that shot?
I would take a lot more club than a 7-iron.
Yeah, so, and I'll say, there's a lot more emphasis put on the into the wind swing than the downswing, or than the downwind, and that's simply because the effect's greater. It just is. So just like I said, it's easy when we're talking about the golf balls. That ball kind of pushes and deadens stuff, kind of makes you look like a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody gets so nervous, like, oh, I'm gonna hit this 320 today, baby.
Yeah, guarantee.
Until you come to the next hole and you gotta right back into it, and all of a sudden you hit 120.
Yeah.
But into the wind, it heightens everything. So if you have a cut, a hook, a high spinny shot, a low, whatever,
Exaggerates everything.
it exaggerates it. So how would you play a 20-mile? So you've got, and if you go to reclub, that's up to you. But in this scenario, you got 200 yards, you got 20 miles an hour wind dead into your face.
I would definitely take more than 7 iron, but I don't have one close. They're sitting outside that door and I'm just too lazy. I play the ball back just a little bit. I try to be possibly as shallow as I can to not be steep into it to cause big launches. And I will generally, assuming that I have the option, play more of a draw into this kind of a shot, hoping that I can get it moving, less spin, all those kinds of things.
Draws typically can run out a little bit better, it cuts into the wind a little bit better, whereas a cut acts more like an airfoil. And I'm gonna plug my own little video I did, unfortunately, when you did not come with us to Mexico. By the way, my teeth are fine. Shout out to that video. I did not fall. I did after I got the text message back, and I did skip a little bit though. But yeah, so I stood up on Quivera number 6, which is a really famous hole. If you're unfamiliar with it, go check that video out. And we talked about hitting the wind because quite frankly, there's a lot of wind.
Yeah, a lot of wind on the ocean.
Yeah, typically they said it averages 15 to 20 miles an hour. I got lucky and had a 5 mile an hour day. And somehow I hit the green. I don't really, still on camera, first try. No edit. Well, one edit because I cursed once.
Oh, I do that.
Nope. So
yeah, so each one of those, I mean, again, I do not have enough club, but.
If you're seeing the overview right now, I'll throw it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Can you guess which is which?
Yeah, a little right around that water's edge.
Right.
But what I have done is I've dropped about 4 or 5 degrees of land angle coming into it. So the ball's dropping down as it comes in. It's not coming in quite as severe. It's coming in a little bit less. And again, going to a 3 iron or 4 iron, whatever I'd be hitting, my land angle will be even less coming into that.
Exactly. And that's the hard part, and this is where like the golf course changes in effect. Obviously, you're playing a course like where this TrackMan digital driving range is a hypothetical place, but a lot of the greens are elevated. They're not a lot of run up, so think non-links golf courses.
Yeah.
And unfortunately there you kind of have to fly it. So you got to be careful how much you really start to hit that knockdown, hold off, whatever you want to call it, low into the wind shot, because it's still going to want to run as long as it's not wet or anything weird. But obviously on like a push-up green like we're hitting into, it's not going to get as much run because you got that angle you have to work up on the green. Now you flip the script and you go play somewhere in Ireland or Scotland or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, the greens are in line, if not a little below, and you can really bump one and hit it this high off the ground and just let it run.
All the way down.
Right, and typically they're firmer golf courses as well. So that's just kind of a link style. But what else? Anything?
It's the wind, man. It hurts more than it helps.
The wind can go blow itself. Huh?
Oh,
that was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, if you remember nothing, it hurts more than it helps.
Yes, it does. Perfect. Well,
get out there and test it out.
Yep, and if you have questions or need help, reach out to us.
Let us know. Thank y'all.
See you guys.